specific favorites for like romance, nonfiction, fantasy, let me know. But today we're just going to be talking about the creme de la creme of kind of every single genre that I read. So without further ado, let's just jump right in because I feel like this might be a long video. I'm going to kind of go chronologically. I'm going to start with the books that I discovered when I was a child, and then like middle school, and then my teenage years, and kind of then into what I read now. So I have been a lifelong reader, and it started for me all the way back in 3rd grade when my teacher read The Tale of Despereaux by Kate DeCamillo. He read this to our class. We read it aloud, like together, like popcorn read it, you know. And I loved it so much that when the book fair came to my school next, I begged my mom for a little bit of money, and I bought this copy. It's a gorgeous edition with deckled edges, and I've had it ever since. This is my original copy from 3rd grade. Honestly, I need to reread this book. It's just so cute, so cozy. There's a bit of a romance, there's a little bit of fantasy, and you have an underdog hero journey. It's just fantastic. This is the story of Despereaux Dilling, a mouse in love with music, stories, and a princess named P. It's also the story of a rat called Roscuro who lives in darkness but covets a world filled with light. And it is the story of Miggery So, a slow-witted serving girl with a simple, impossible wish. These characters are about to embark on a journey that will lead them down into a horrible dungeon, up in a glittering castle, and ultimately into each other's lives. And what happens then, reader? It is your destiny to find out. I mean, how are you not just like hooked, you know? For me, as a little 3rd grader, this was catnip, and I was the cat. That is The Tale of Despereaux. Then a few years later, I think in like 5th or 6th grade, I discovered John Green, and my first and favorite John Green book is always gonna go to Looking for Alaska. I remember exactly where I was when I read this. I was on a road trip with my family. We were driving all the way up to Bozeman, Montana, and so we all got in the car together, all 5 of us, and I was reading this in the back seat. And when I got to the before and after chapter, I was hysterical. I love that John Green has always been able to write very interesting and complex female main characters, yet he simultaneously helps the reader understand why you should not like manic picture show of these wild and poignant roller coaster days known as growing up. Oh my god, even the blurb is like, tattoo that on my forehead. It's beautifully written. So I love this book. I need to reread this as well. Damn, this is just like making me want to read these all over again. Okay, now before we switch gears, I want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Parade. Ever since I discovered Parade, I think towards the end of 2023, they have been slowly taking over my bra underwear drawer. They have some of the comfiest, most affordable, and breathable bras, underwear, and loungewear. I am obsessed with quite a few of their products, but today I want to talk about my two staples. First, we have my favorite underwear. This is the vintage high-cut cheeky. All of their styles come in a variety of colors, but I'm a fan of 8-ball, aka the black, just because I think it's so flattering, goes with everything. This underwear is made from Parade's new cotton fabric, which is super lightweight and breathable, and also the vintage high cut is super flattering. So those are my go-to. And then I have never been a bra girl. Okay, I am a free the nip till I die, but on the days when I'm working out, I need a little bit more support, or maybe I'm wearing a sheer top. Parade makes some of the most comfortable bras and bralettes. This is my favorite. It is the Replay high cut triangle bralette. It has adjustable straps. It is super soft, and it never digs in or causes any discomfort. Any moment where I need a bra, I am constantly reaching for this. It is so comfortable. So if you are in the market for some new bras and underwear, check out Parade by scanning the QR code or clicking the link in the description box. You can use my code HaleyJean30 to get 30% off and become a Parade convert like me. I want to thank Parade for sponsoring this video and for keeping my underwear drawer stocked. Now let's get back into it. Let's talk about fantasy and dystopian stories, specifically YA, fantasy and dystopian. This was a genre that it took me a little bit longer to get into. I was way more interested in like the contemporary stories when I was younger, but then I read Twilight, I read Hunger Games, and those are definitely also some of my favorites. But the book that I remember hooking me, sinking its teeth into me when I was a teenager at the time has to go to Divergent by Veronica Ross. Divergent. I am a forever writer for this series, especially this first book. I feel like I'm chasing that feeling. It is a classic young adult dystopian series set in the future where, you know, our world has been divided into different kind of classes and groups. And I would say what really drew me to these kind of young adult dystopian stories was how powerful and like badass the female characters were. Specifically Katniss in Hunger Games is like an icon, and I really loved Triss as well in Divergent. But I think what made Divergent just like I was a little bit more addicted to Divergent is the love story. In this book, I was never the biggest Gale or Peeta fan, but that's my man. That is my man. The romance in this is everything. It's like a slow burn, it's so much tension, but you've also got such a fun and fantastic dystopian plot. So anyway, yeah, I love Divergent, and again, this is just one of those books that made me feel like I was on top of the world while I read it for the first time. Beatrice Pryor's society is divided into 5 factions: Candor, the honest; Abnegation, the selfless; Dauntless, the brave; Amity, the peaceful; and Erudite, the intelligent. Beatrice must choose between staying with her Abnegation family or transferring factions. Her choice will shock her community and herself, but the newly christened Triss also has a secret, one she's determined to keep hidden, because in this world, what makes you different makes you dangerous. The next YA fantasy I have to talk about, one of my favorite books of all 3 times, and then I had to read it again in high school, and it's always just stuck with me. But I will say, as much as I love the book, I do think that the film is fantastic. So if you can't get into like the writing style, this is a bit more of that kind of older English, very, very poetic and flowery. It talks about the 1920s, the American dream, wealth, love, sacrifice. But if you don't like the book, watch that film, because I love the movie even more than the book. But I had to include this in the video because this is my favorite classic. Not only is it short, but it's got everything you could want. Drama, love, murder. It's just so well written. There is a lot of speculation that F. Scott Fitzgerald got some of the concepts or ideas from his wife, which would not surprise me. I love this book. It's got the female gaze all over it, but either way, the story of the mysteriously wealthy Jay Gatsby and his love for the beautiful Daisy Buchanan, of lavish parties on Long Island, of a time when the New York Times noted gin was the national drink and sex was the national obsession. It is an exquisitely crafted tale of America in the 1920s. Love, 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 love this book. Love it. Tom Buchanan, I Want You Dead in the Street. Okay, starting off with my favorite adult books. First, we have a literary fiction. This is Normal People by Sally Rooney. This is another book that I read in college. This is one of those books that I just found at the perfect time. It was like right when I needed it the most. So this book is a character study. It follows 2 characters, Connell and Marianne. They grow up at the same high school in Ireland, and it follows them and how they kind of come in and out of each other's lives over years and years and years. I love the way that Sally Rooney discusses heavier topics like classism or wealth disparity through her characters, and how she talks about politics and certain things like that through these fictional people that feel so real. Her books feel so human, if that makes sense. I can't explain it, but there's something really, really unique and special about them. Connell and Marianne grow up in the same small town in the west of Ireland, but the similarities end there. In school, Connell is popular and well-liked, while Marianne is a loner. But when the two strike up a conversation, awkward but electrifying, something life-changing begins. Normal People is a story of mutual fascination, friendship, and love. It takes us from that first lovers slow burn in a small town setting with grumpy, maybe this is a controversial take, but fuck, grumpy sunshine. Give me grumpy any day of the month. I love this book. Now for talking romance, it's only right that we talk about Miss Elsie Silver, specifically her Chestnut Springs series. Elsie is the queen of a good Canadian small town romance, and this series is addicting, I promise you. Even if you don't think that a small town cowboy romance would be your thing, I truly believe that Heartless can convert anyone. Heartless is book 2, and it's where I think everyone should start. If you have never picked up an Elsie Silver book, pick up Heartless. If you've picked up another one of her books and you didn't like it, pick up Heartless. If you've read Heartless, pick it up and read it again, because it is so good. Single dad, nanny, age gap, spicy, the tension. She is so fiery and funny. Willa is a legendary female main character. I love her. But my personal favorite, and the one that I have to put on this list, is Reckless. I think this is my favorite because I relate so much to Winter. Winter's the FMC in this book, and that's my girl. Like, I get her, and the way that Theo, the MMC, loves her, it is so beautiful. Love these 2 books. I truly think you could pick up either one and you will not go wrong. I think these are her best books by far. Okay, let's end off the romance section with a purely spicy, smutty erotica. Okay, if you don't want to waste your time with 300 pages and you just want to get to it, I have the perfect novella for you. Again, I'm not a rereader. I'm not someone that likes to reread that much. I will reread The Dare anytime, okay? This is again, purely erotica, 18 plus romance novella. It's under 150 pages. Check your trigger warnings. Obviously, proceed with caution, but it follows a girl named Jessica who has just graduated high school. I think they're 19 at the time of this. And in high school, she was kind of like a popular girl, a cheerleader, and she used to bully these kind of group of boys called the Losers. And she comes to a Halloween party a little bit after graduation, and who turns out to be there but the Losers. And she ends up losing a bet with one of them and kind of has to be his plaything for the entire night. And so this is just a one-night little story about that. But if you read it and you enjoy it and you want more, there are 2 full-length spin-off books that are 500 pages each about the characters. It's set 5 years later and there's more plot. But honestly, this is my favorite. I love The Dare. I have never found a spicy novella that has hit this hard, and I love the way that we talk about kinks and we explore, BDSM and stuff like that, but in such a well done way. Consent is so crucial, and I think Harley LaRue is one of my favorite erotica writers. So if you're looking for a spicy quick time, check out The Dare. Oh, also, the main character in this, his name is Manson. And I would just like to sob, yet feel so cathartic at the same time. Pick up Know My Name by Chanel Miller. I read this in 2022 or 2023, annotated the hell out of it. When I tell you that this book made me sob, I was ugly crying to the point where I could not breathe. I was like hyperventilating. I do have another video where I read quotes from my favorite books. So if you want to hear some of the quotes from these books that I'm talking about, I read a few quotes from this book, and every time I read certain quotes, I will cry. And I cry in that video. It's impeccable. And not only is the story so touching and real about Chanel's experience and what she went through, but the writing is phenomenal. I need her to write a new book yesterday. I have been waiting. I am sat. My credit card is on standby. Chanel, whenever you're ready, I'm ready to buy your next book. But universally acclaimed, rapturously reviewed, and an instant New York Times bestseller, this breathtaking memoir gives readers the privilege of knowing her, not just as Emily Doe, but as Chanel Miller, the writer, the artist, the survivor, and the fighter. Chanel's story of trauma and transcendence illuminates a culture biased to protect perpetrators, indicting a criminal justice system designed to fail the most vulnerable, and ultimately shining with the courage required to move through suffering and live a full and beautiful life. Know My Name will forever transform the way that we think about sexual assault, challenging our beliefs about what is acceptable and speaking truth to the tumultuous reality of healing. Oh, see, I'm going. There I go. Entwining pain, resilience, and humor, this memoir will stand as a modern classic. As a sexual assault survivor, this book, it just really, really hits home, and I think this is a book that everyone should read. Everyone. Required reading before you die, especially if you're a man. Pick this up. It's fantastic. The last and final book, also a book that made me sob. But it also made me laugh. It made me giggle. It made me drop my jaw. This book took me through every single emotion possible. It is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. Not only do I think this book deserves the best title probably ever of a book, if that title alone doesn't intrigue you and you need to know why, I don't know what will. But I was someone that grew up in the early 2000s with Nickelodeon and Disney Channel, and so I was very familiar with Jeanette, and she was a famous actress on these shows, and her life as a little kid, it seemed so cool and she seemed so glamorous. And so to read this specifically, I listened to the audiobook, and I highly recommend the audiobook because she narrates it herself brilliantly. But when I was listening to this audiobook, I was just agape. I could not believe what was going on behind the scenes and everything that Jeanette has had to go through in her life and her career, told with refreshing honesty and dark humor.